This is the John Brown Alliance, where we don't fear, we fight. Now, if you attend the protest this weekend, I'm going to ask that you like and subscribe to this video, because I honestly think that you are not only going to be part of a protest in Washington, D.C., but the start of something bigger. It costs you nothing to subscribe to this video, but I do need more than 100 members so that we can start getting the word out about what's going on. It's not so much what's going on, it's what is about to happen. And I don't think that the protesters in the streets and the people on YouTube and content creators actually have any idea how explosive this administration has been. Nor do you have any idea what power you have. It is certain, in any case, that ignorance allied with power is the most ferocious enemy justice can have. James Baldwin said that. The reason I said that is because I feel like a different wind is on its way as a Native American, but I digress. Instead of people capitalizing on the Epstein files in a political manner, I need you to take a little look, from my point of view, a person of color, at what I think has happened and is about to happen. Now, if you think back to the prophecies about people that said this whole movement started with Ronald Reagan, and how systematically, these individuals that are not kosher transformed the United States government into a fascist regime. Think back to 1619. Put all that into perspective and what was going on back then. Do you remember Pizzagate? Do you remember all these conspiracy theories and accusations about Democrats being pedophiles, and how people were getting shot up left and right? These people are communists. They're this, they're that. That happened before. It happened right here in America. And not only that, Americans and Europeans demonized another culture in order to deflect away from their original sin against not only their own people, but other people. And it had manifested into what we now call the United States of America. The great American melting pot is an absolute cesspool. So I'm going to tell you what happened and what I think is going to happen. Now, I am white, Latino, Native American, and black. So I can see this from all perspectives. I don't need some white analyst or some protester to tell me what the fuck to think. I don't need that. I don't need them to tell me how to act. I don't need any of that. I don't need a politician that doesn't come from my background to tell me what I need to know about racism. It's all wrapped up in here. Modern day. You have just the beginning of what I consider the American slave trade. You have all these wealthy people recruiting, raping young women. And you have maybe 1,000 victims out there. Some of them never to be seen again. Then there's the cover-up. J.P. Morgan Chase, under Jamie Dimon, had clear knowledge of all this money going into Epstein accounts. Now, why does a guy that sit around and fuck all day have all this money? Follow the money. As far as I know, he wasn't independently wealthy before he became a pervert. And Ghislaine Maxwell lost her wealth. So they get together in this little, I don't know what you want to call it. I'm not white. I don't understand that shit. I really don't. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to let y'all figure out what that was. And at any rate, we have not scratched the surface of this. But someone like me that almost fell into that trap knows full well where this was leading for me and where it led for many girls. People who were silenced, told to shut the fuck up by the Trump administration and anybody associated with Epstein, was nothing more than a participant in a worldwide human trafficking organization, and that includes every member of Congress that is a Republican, and everyone who continues to cover up for Donald Trump and the Epstein files. And I'll tell you how I know this motherfucker is guilty. Because I know a little something about Atlantic City and those beauty pageants. And up close and personal, I know rapists. And I know how it feels to be a victim of sexual assault. Present day. Funded by the richest men on earth, most of whom are suspected to be in the Epstein files. We launched this great big ICE thing where we have to rid America of all the criminals and gang members. So we do this video where we have Abrego Garcia and others being marched down to El Salvador and disappeared. But now all of a sudden, we have all these federal funded concentration camps in this country and that. And when Donald Trump says he's going to send somebody somewhere, they've already built that shit. So you have people being sent all over the world. MSNBC ain't covering it. CNN ain't covering it. Chris Cuomo ain't covering it. No, they're covering it up. Each and every news network that does not right now send reporters out to find out where these people are going are failing is free and independent media. Because I remember a time where we had people on the ground. They were called reporters. You didn't turn on MSNBC and CNN and just see this motherfucker who heard some rumors talking about it, and then he gets 7 other motherfuckers to talk about it too. No, that's not news. That's bullshit. And I'm talking about every single news network that you turn on regular TV right now is null and void. Because they're doing absolutely nothing. The only news that I find that I can corroborate and know is current in the past 2 days, I've found on YouTube. But I digress. So let's go back to a place called America. And these ancestors of mine and some of yours worked for the King of England. So they went over to Africa and got rid of these menaces that they didn't want around anymore. Loaded them up on a ship in Senegal, and they took this long voyage. Most of them died, really. But those who did could produce a profit for the rich people who financed these expeditions. In Africa, I'm sure, like we do here, they wondered, where are these people going? They never found out. And neither are we. Unless we show up in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. But this modern day slave trade has our neighbors, our shop owners, and everyone who is a menace to white America, who is earning money, not through a corporation, and does not agree with the king, is being disappeared and taken to a foreign land financed by this king, just like the King of England back in that day. And not only that, I think they're being stored overseas in another country, just like the enslaved black people were in America, for the next Epstein type saga and the new slavery. Global wide. And I say this because, once again, at first, it looked like there were a bunch of thugs being locked up. So you got to mix it in. You know, you got to have a couple grandfathers, a couple grandmothers. But now all of a sudden, all these very beautiful 24 and 25-year-old Native American women and Latino women and women under 30 going to the grocery store are being seized by ICE and disappeared. Why? Time and time again, any idiot with one fucking eyeball knows that the typical Native American and Latino woman going to the grocery store is not, flashing gang signs, raising their tattoos up, and pulling out gats. So this is bullshit. What are they storing and kidnapping these women for? Epstein Island 2.0? I, as a person who understand how this works, as a person of color, tend to believe that these people that are paying foreign governments to store them are being stored them and disappeared for a reason. These people are not intended to just be forgotten about because they're in some fucking African country or El Salvador or Argentina or wherever the fuck they're going to send these people, including ICE detention centers right here in America. As we speak, we are getting reports of women being raped in those facilities because there is no oversight. So what do you think this is? In 2025, you are witnessing the kidnapping of American citizens for the purpose overseas and on this homeland for sexual and labor slavery. That's what you're seeing. Millions of dollars are being spent housing people the United States didn't want here in foreign countries. What do you think they get in return? Strange how all the men who can work and all the dudes nobody wants to fuck are being deported outside the United States. However, all these beautiful women are being kept in detention centers, hoping that someone's going to forget about them. This is Native American Heritage Month. And let me tell you a little story. Long before you white folks were pissed off about Trump in any way, I witnessed something I could not believe, but now I believe it. I used to be a construction worker, along with a civil rights activist. And there was this family that I was associated with who belonged to the Navajo Nation. And this one individual went up to Canada for work. I think he worked there for 2 or 3 months. So he tries to come back to the United States of America. But they won't let him in. A Navajo man. And so he got detained. Not by Canada, but by the United States of America. It took 2 acts of creator, burning some sage, prayer, and probably 15 goddamn sweat lodges to get this guy back in the United States of America so he could work here in Washington, D.C. Now, I do know that his uncle, whose artwork used to be, unless Donald Trump stole it, at the National Museum of the Native American, had to go all the way back to Arizona. All the way back to Arizona to get his Navajo papers and then go to Canada to prove that this man belonged in the United States. And that was before this orange motherfucker and all these white invaders worried about Donald Trump. So let me tell you, the next time that you go to Home Depot or you go to a place that is convenient for you because it's not closed down in Washington, D.C., because the owner supports Latino culture and his workers, you at every turn support the new slave trade. And that's what this is. And that they could have gotten away with my friend leaving the United States of America permanently. They would have. Because he would have been a problem. Because he's indigenous. I'm indigenous too. And I am a problem. You can deport me, but I'm coming back. But the next protest you attend, please understand that every minute you are there, in every city of America, another person with your tax dollars is being sold into slavery, being trafficked overseas, or being exploited right here in America, and their families have no idea where they are. While you protest on Saturday, understand that they understand that you stand for them. And you might smile, and you might meet people, and you might try to be happy about what you're doing. But every one of my ancestors and every one of theirs know why you show up in the cold to do it. With that, I want to give a shout out to two of the only men that I owe the message I just gave you tonight. Cliff Cash and Paul Lance. The rest of you got some real cleaning up to do. This is the John Brown Alliance. When you see something wrong, do something right. This Saturday, I will be down there with them. See you there.